Welcome to Larry's Unradio Talk Show, where I talk without a tower to broadcast from. I enjoy it. I like it this way. Anyhow, this is for those of you just stepping in. This is a father's advice to his daughters. It's opinion, and you can comment on it. Keep your comments polite, and check the anger issues and all that kind of stuff at the door. All right, we don't take a deep breath and enjoy life. You don't need to stress out over it. It's just my opinion. However, it's an opinion that I will defend and stick by. Unless you have something constructive to come up with it that may change my mind. Who knows? Bottom line is, though, a lot of people go through life and they have opinions on this and they have opinions on that, but sometimes they'll have opinions that contradict one another. And they may not be quite aware of that. But the reason is they don't really have a worldview. They don't have a reference point with which they wake up in the morning and they open their eyes and they see the world. And it's you don't want to go through life like that. You want to have a worldview that acts like it's a belief about human life that is the foundation for every decision that you make. And for me, in my experience, and probably a lot of other people, but it comes with asking, who am I and why am I here? And, several times in my life, I came to periods of asking those questions. And right around, my early 30s, I started to get definitive answers that I was able to sew together and thus come up with a worldview with which, I'll be blunt, this is the most important segment of this entire series that I'm going to do. If you don't understand my worldview and everything else that I come up with, you're just going to scratch your head and say, this guy's lost his mind. But the worldview governs every other opinion that I have. And so it is for other people that have worldviews. Who am I and why am I here? Here, I'll tell you my worldview, and through that process, you determine if anything there resonates with you. And you'll see how a worldview can be very important. I am a unique, one-of-a-kind creation of an omnipotent, just, and loving God. And I believe that I live in this time and in this place to fulfill His purposes and ultimately no one else's. It's my belief that all human beings exist under the same created circumstances as I do, and that we are all inherently equal in the eyes of God. Now, let me put a little asterisk there. Just because we're equal in the eyes of God, go back to what I said. I believe that I'm a unique, one-of-a-kind creation of an omnipotent, just, and loving God. Unique. That means we're all going to be different. All right? Everyone's going to have a different collection of attributes. So we're equal in the eyes of God, but if somebody can beat me at running the 500 meter, hey, that's what comes as part of uniqueness. All right, but this whole thing goes into the fact that there is someone higher than me. All right, that me, a human being, and every other human being on the planet, we aren't the top dog. There's someone above us. There's somebody higher than you and higher than the President of the United States and the King of Spain and the meter reader. Everyone else puts their pants on in the morning one leg at a time, just like I do. And this is any kind of belief in human superiority of let's say, one man or woman being inherently better than another is just outright foolishness. Look about you, and what you see are human beings that look different. They have different temperaments, different sentiments, and that obvious truth about our existence tells us that we're intended to fulfill kind of like God's purposes in a unique, customized manner. Think about it. When you think about it, girls, you might want to get a pencil and paper. This is an important one here. Our mortal lives, your life, is a journey, and it starts with having experiences, which then leads to discoveries. And God has a hand in the experiences and discoveries you'll have. Not always, but I think He's steering you in the direction He wants you to go. And then He kind of backs off from the experiences and discoveries and then lets you make the choice All right? You have your free will. He's not going to take that away. So experiences leads to discoveries, lead to choices that you make with your own free will, and that determines the path that you take in life, okay? And, God obviously wants you to take a particular path. I firmly believe there is one way, not 50 million ways to get to the same place. But nonetheless, the choice is yours. If I don't say this enough, God is not interested in conscripting people. He is interested in finding volunteers to make a commitment. It is the ways of men that dominate and conscript people to their great and wonderful causes. To treat human beings like nameless, faceless numbers, like livestock in a pen or cogs in a machine, in my mind, is to create it's a great crime against the people that you're treating like, nameless numbers, and a crime against God. If God were to have an army, if there were such a thing, nobody would wear the same uniform, the same drab uniform, and have the same haircut and march in step with others, like in a formation. When I was in the army, what's a formation? You take about 40 guys and you line them up in rows and columns, and they wear the same uniform, the same haircut, the same hat, and in unison, their right foot comes down and their left foot comes down, and their arms swing, and they sing, and everything's the same. And, that's the way of men. God has standards, but don't confuse those with that kind of insane conformity and that you see with organizations done by the hand of men. All right, it's like this. What human beings try to do one another is they try and make them the same. All right, we're all going to be ball-peen hammers in this great and wonderful endeavor, says the leader. But God's like, no. I created everyone different. I'm trying to build something here. I need a ball-peen hammer and a roofing hammer and a square and a torque screwdriver and a plane and a Phillips screwdriver and a saw, and you get the idea. There is a reason why there's a vast variety of human beings and temperaments. And there is this compulsion that some human beings have to stamp that out and bring forth some sort of insane, unnatural, inorganic conformity. Now remember, though, God has standards, but they're different than the standards of men. Okay? All right, so let me just say that you're going to find, as you get older, people that they say they're more intelligent, or they're more enlightened, or they have more money, or maybe even they say they're poorer than you, and they're going to use all those things as justifications for some sort of, giving them moral authority to tell you what to do, to dominate your life, to take away your freedom, to tell you how to live. You're going to find people that abuse their office or their station in life, all to control people. And be afraid. Be very afraid of those people, all right? History, their track record is pretty bad in history. I'm none too eager to get caught up in their various crusades. On the other hand, it's integral to my worldview that God wants us to make decisions with as much freedom from coercion as possible. That each of us, unique human beings, is to find our own way in this world, and for those that believe in an afterlife, to also find their way into the next. I mean, to me, liberty is the essential environment, the necessary atmosphere for those ends to be met. I have to have my freedom to make, I better go ahead and end. I'll see you on part 2.